Hello, this is the LRH5024V, which is a long reach hedge cutter, and this is how it arrives with you in a box like this. So we're going to unpack it and I'm going to take it out and just show you how you can set it up and use it in your garden. So there we go. It's all nicely packed in there and everything we need to cut hedges. Here are the various components. So we have got the cutting head that comes complete with a protective cover there on the blades just to make sure everything is safe, and then we've got the long reach handle that we can extend when we're using it. Also has a strap so you can put it over your shoulder just to take a little bit of the strain. It's got, of course, the manual there with all the instructions on assembling it and use and care of your long reach hedge cutter. We've got a battery charger and the all-important lithium-ion battery to power it. So to put it together is very, very simple indeed. We take the head and we take the long reach handle, and you'll notice that on it we have the two arrows there, one on the cutting head and one on the handle. So we need to line those up and then just insert the handle in and just give it a wiggle and push it together tightly, and then we can lock that into position very easily by screwing this on nice and tightly. So that holds it perfectly and firmly in place. At the other end is where we put the battery, and the battery simply slots into position just here. So it's very easy. The battery goes on that way and clicks and locks into place. And to remove the battery, we just pull the little lever there and slide it off. When you get the battery, it will come 3/4 charge from the factory, and we can test the charge in it by just pushing the little green button there, and we get green lights that illuminate. What we recommend is before you actually start to use the hedge cutter, you fully charge it, and we'll look at that in just a moment time. But I'll put it on just so you see what it looks like. Just clicks into position. The other thing with this is there is a strap here if you want that's fully adjustable. You can open it and close it should you want to, but you can also adjust it very easily to suit you, to put over your shoulder, and that very simply just clips on there, so you can adjust it and then it can go over your shoulder just to take a little bit of the weight when you're using it. Having said that, it's not heavy, it's very light to use. One of the great things about this hedge cutter is it is long reach, so it's perfect for tall hedges, and it's very easy to extend the pole. All we do is to slacken it off, and it tells you which way the little arrow is to unlock it. So we just slacken off this collar completely, and then we can extend it to whatever length you need, and then all you do is tighten it back on again nice and tight. And you can use the hedge cutter at any length that you've adjusted it to. So that is really good to use. So you can reach nice and high up in the sky. The other thing that you can do with this one is it's got an articulating head. So just by simply depressing the buttons there, you can move the head to any angle you want, which makes it perfect if you're wanting to cut the top of a hedge to get a lovely flat, level surface. You can just take the top off very easily like that. So again, it will cut at any angle that you put it at, and there are several that you can choose from. Remember, of course, always keep the blade guard on when you're not using it, but before you cut the hedge, you do need to take that off and keep that safely for putting it on when you've finished. So to operate it, we need to look at the controls at the other end of the hedge cutter. So remember, the battery does need to be fully charged. We have an on-off switch here, which is this button. What we have to do is we actually depress it for a few seconds until the battery light comes on, and then we have the choice of whether we go eco or turbo. Turbo is the faster speed if you've got thicker stems to cut. So safety feature is before you can actually pull in the trigger underneath, there are two buttons on the side there. That has to be depressed first to release the trigger. There's one either side, which means you can operate it left-handed or right-handed. You only have to depress it from one side, and once you've pushed it in, it releases the trigger and away we go. And to switch it off, it's just a case of pushing the button again. But if you do forget to do that, there is a timer on it and it will automatically switch off. To charge the battery, you need to take it off the hedge cutter. There is a charger provided, and it's simply a case of sliding the charger into the battery all the way, but you've got to make sure it clicks, and then it's fully connected, And when it's charging, green lights on the end of the battery will be flashing. That tells us we've got power. And on the charger unit itself, you get a red light, which is in the charging mode. When it's fully charged, it turns to green. Once that happens, you can simply take it out, put it back on your hedge cutter and carry on around the garden. And when you've finished cutting your hedge, remember to put the guard back over the blades just to protect it and to prevent any cut fingers. It just slides on very easily and then it's ready for next time. If you bought the long reach hedge cutter, there is an attachment, and this is it. This is the P20X, which is a little chainsaw head, and it's got a 20 centimetre or an 8-inch blade on there, and it's ideal for cutting those higher branches that you can't obviously cut with the hedge cutter. And it fits onto the long reach pole, so it's very easy to swap over. We just loosen the collar like that, and then just give it a wiggle, and the two parts will come apart. You can see it's gradually coming apart. So this is the handle, so we can now swap them over, get the chainsaw head, and we need to align the two arrows there and just push them together nice and tightly, and then lock them in place nice and tight there. Now we've got the chainsaw head on there. Before we can use it, the thing we need to do is to make sure it's got some chain oil in there to lubricate it. That is very important. And all the instructions are in the original manual for the long reach, but also for the chainsaw attachment there. So all the details are given. So the chain oil goes in the little tank here. There's a filler cap at the top, the red cap, just take that off. It is important that you use chainsaw oil for this. And it's just a case of filling up the little reservoir, the little tank there with some chain oil. And then of course we tighten the lid on there to make sure we get no leakages. You need to keep an eye on the level when you're using it, and it's very easy because there is a little clear screen at the back there where you can see the tank and you can clearly see what level the oil is at. So when it gets low, we need to keep it topped up. It's of course got a chain guard on there which must be put on at all times when you're not using it, and on the back of it there is an Allen key which is needed should you need to adjust the blade in any way there. So the Allen key goes in there. So using it is exactly the same as you would with a hedge cutter. The controls work the same. So when you do, it's simply a case of taking off the chain cover. So it's just press the button and then we can depress the trigger. So that's the Eco, and if we put it onto the turbo, you'll hear that it is faster. So again, you can use it on the two cutting speeds, depending on the thickness of the branch. So we've got a great bit of battery operated kit there that's great for all types of pruning around the garden, whether it's a hedge or some branches higher up in the trees.
Remember to register your Cobra online at www.cobragarden.co.uk. And always have your Cobra serviced regularly. Check the website for your nearest dealer.